Please rewind this cassette.
So, can we talk about the teen sex comedy that was the first 20 minutes of this recent episode of Game of Thrones? What the fuck is with D&D? I mean, I know that they've always had issues. They've always had strengths and weaknesses in their writing and just as producers. And to be fair, they had never done this before. They had done Game of Thrones, so they're actually pretty good producers overall. I think really one of the best things about the show has to be the production. However, it's awkward talking about this episode. This was a weird episode, man. In many ways, it was way better than the previous episode, The Long Night, in the fact that it wasn't as disappointing or didn't have as many glaring flaws. But even thinking about it, this is easily one of the just weaker, weirder episodes of Game of Thrones, even if there were things about the episodes that returned to a lot of the form that I used to like about the show. There was some quality stuff in this episode that surprised me, in that D&D actually wrote some better dialogue. They had some better situations. There was more honesty. But let's get back to the whole beginning. So this episode starts with just like a party, like everyone's just partying at Winterfell drinking. It kind of takes away some of the power of episode 2 where they were all having their like last drink together because nobody really died that was in that room. They're all just drinking now again. And I guess you could say the scenes reflect each other, but I don't really think it comes across thematically. But this was tonally weird. Everybody was just like buddying up and broing down. Like, after what just happened, after seeing so many of your friends die and everything that went down, you think people would just be mourning the deaths, but everyone's just like, yo, let's party and let's all get laid. Everybody gets laid in this episode. They even go to the cliche where Jaime Lannister, the jock, bangs like the nerdy girl. He bangs Brienne, the nerdy girl that has the heart of gold. His hand of gold probably went to inappropriate places in her body. Jesus. But what? I don't know. It's just like everybody was having sex and partying. I don't know. I thought it was a weird way to open the episode. Also, they said that she lost half her army. I'm like, did you see the same episode I did? Half? Only half? Well, shit, that's convenient. I mean, half of her army. I mean, it looks like 85% of the people at Winterfell died the last episode. But apparently, there's still half of the people, even though I didn't see them on screen. Maybe they couldn't afford it because they spent so much money on the dragon CGI. Also, come on, man, Ghost. Why are you being cheap with Ghost? His ear's ripped off. He's in like 3 scenes. And then Jon's just like, hey, I'm gonna send him off with you, Tormund. Tormund's going back up north. He's like, all right, you take Ghost with you. You'd be happier there. And I'm sitting there with my fiance, and I go, isn't that ridiculous? Why would he send Ghost off as bro? And she goes, well, he has his best interest in mind. That's really sweet. I go, yeah, he always has Ghost's best interest in his mind. That's why he told Ghost to go run on the front line with Jorah and get attacked by thousands of zombies. Yeah, Jon really cares about Ghost. Remember that relationship they used to have in the early seasons and the bond they had? I guess D&D just don't care. I need to quit bringing up the dire wolves, or I'm just going to consistently be disappointed. That's like your dog, man. Like, quit treating your dog like shit. That dog is neglected. If I knew somebody that treated their dog that way, I would just be like, you're a very bad person. I judge people very much on how they treat their pets, and Jon Snow is treating his dog like shit. I mean, damn, dude. Arya tells Gendry, like, yo, I just wanted to fuck you. I don't want to marry you. Gendry becomes, Sir Gendry Baratheon, and that's actually a nice little moment. It's nice to see Dany do something. Then the whole tension of the episode really kicks in. There's like 2 or 3 things going on. One is that Jon and Dany are arguing about him revealing that who he really is, that he's a Targaryen to his family. The other one is that all the other characters, the supporting cast for the most part, is now suspicious of Dany and wants to overthrow her. This kind of came out of nowhere for me. I don't think Dany's acting that bad to explain this behavior, like how Sansa's acting, Varys, all of that. Here's the thing, Dany did come with her army. She did sacrifice one of her dragons to go save Jon and them. She lost half her army, So I don't know why they're all so suspicious of her, can't trust her. I mean, I hate to use the cliche of actions speak louder than words, but god damn it, those are some pretty big actions. Sure, she's kind of bitchy, but who cares? I mean, Sansa has a stick up her ass. I just don't get this. It's like, why don't you guys just let Dany go, kill Cersei, it's all over, and then everyone's happy. In fact, this episode pointed out just how glaring issues were in season 7. Like, Dany's original plan of like, I just want to go to King's Landing, take it over, and we could be done in 5 minutes because I have this huge army. That just made sense. And then Tyrion's like, no, we need to do all this elaborate bullshit. And then that just blows up in their face because Euron has superpowers. Just like Arya. Arya and Euron are the two most OP characters now. So now Dany's here with half an army, and she's like, can we just go attack them again? And they're like, no, we need to do this and not kill people. It's like, alright, Jesus Christ, do you guys not understand the concept of war? Like, who cares if she kills the people in King's Landing? I get it, you know, you don't want to be that kind of person, and you don't want the people to follow you from fear, but it's like, who? Dude! Like, Jesus. You just keep letting people die, like in your army. You know, all these people just keep dying because you keep making stupid decisions. So that's the politics of the episode, I guess. That's the scheming that's going on, is all revolved around Dany and who has the right to the Iron Throne. Now, I will say, there was some good scenes in this episode that I did like. Quite a few, actually. I'll take anything with Jaime. I was enjoying. I like seeing Bronn again, even though that all felt really anticlimactic. It's like, why did Cersei send Bronn, whose best friends really are kind of Tyrion and Jaime, to go kill them? Like, she knew he wasn't going to kill them. So it was just kind of a dumb scheme that didn't work out. That scene played out exactly how I thought it would. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying that I wanted Bronn to kill one of them, but something could have happened that was more interesting. But he's a great character. There was some nice scenes with the Hound, although it seems like Clegane Bowl's definitely happening. I'm sort of mixed on that. I don't know how I'd feel about the Hound's character if they committed to that. So anyway, they decide that they're going to go attack from different points of view, and then Jon tells Sansa and Arya that, you know, he's a Targaryen, and then of course they tell everybody. Sansa tells Tyrion, Tyrion tells Varys. So everyone's just being stupid and not keeping a fucking secret, but at least that did somewhat feel like old school Game of Thrones. It was just less clever, but it was nice to see people talking about things like that, conversations, things going on. That was something D&D haven't done in a long time. There was some honesty to this episode, and how people talk to each other. Also, I thought this was a very good Tyrion episode, probably the best Tyrion episode in a while. But still, so there's still a lot of things that are just glaring issues. Yeah, the fact that she still has half an army, okay. The burning of the supporting characters as being a big emotional scene, even though they weren't that big of characters. Like, I probably feel the worst for Theon. There was something a little cold and detached about it all, though. Like, I'm like, Sansa, okay. And then we continue on. I just don't like how they ended this episode. I like the sequence up until a point, but here's the problem with this episode, and here's the problem with this season so far, in a big way, being 6 episodes, and how they stopped doing 10-episode season. There was enough plot in the books left, and really, with what they could have just taken from that and continued with, to do 10 seasons of this show. I think they should have done probably 9 seasons, 90 episodes. But the last 2 seasons being shorter, they've had to do these huge time jumps. Like, they get on the water, and then, you know, we just jump cut to them being somewhere else. Someone gets on a horse, and we just jump, and they're at King's Landing. People just kind of, they're teleporting again. It's not as bad as it was in Season 7, but it's still there. There's just like, hey, now it's like, what is it, weeks later? You know, I mean, Game of Thrones used to even have the kind of consideration where they would rest their horses, because you have to give horses time to rest, but they just, now it's just like these horses just go on for days and days without stopping. Did they just sleep while they're riding the horse? But here's the issue. This episode spends so much time on that first 25 minutes as like a party, and it kind of tricks you. It's a pretty happy episode, and it keeps going that way until you get to like maybe the 50-minute mark, and then Euron attacks Dany and Tyrion and Grey Worm and all them with those scorpion spear things that Bronn had. Apparently they have 100 of them now, and they have perfect accuracy, and they're more powerful than they ever were. These things are way stronger than they were in season 7. It's kind of ridiculous. It's not even kind of ridiculous, it's totally ridiculous. But, you know, that's the show now. But here's the issue. There's a moment that is a shocking moment where Dany's other dragon, I think Rhaegar, gets killed by Euron and his men. That is a shocking moment. But the thing is, after, like, the tone of it and where it's going, it just feels like it's too immediate. Like, that should be the ending of an episode, or there should be some more build-up to the tension of it. It just sort of happens, and then he falls in the water like Viserion fell in the water. It's like, okay, I guess dragons just fall in the fucking water. Also, how dumb is Dany and her people? Why wouldn't you suspect that there might be somebody waiting there for you? I mean, really. Once again, just the worst military strategy. Dany somehow just completely fucked every move she could have made on the way. So she somehow has already lost 2 dragons. Both of them kind of poorly done, sloppy sequences. Because they're both kind of just a reflection of Dany being stupid. Some would say arrogant, but I don't take it as arrogance, as I take it as just being dumb about not protecting your dragons, your most valuable asset. So yeah, you need to be more guarded for them, like with them. You don't just like keep flying them around everywhere like they're gonna always be okay. It's like last week when she just stayed on the ground and all the, you know, all the walkers attacked her dragon Drogon. It's like, well, why did you do that? You should know better. Like, I just don't get it. It's like, be more considerate of the dragon's safety, because they're really, without them, you kind of don't have anything. That's why you're where you are, is because you're the mother of dragons. If you're the mother of dead dragons, it doesn't mean very much. So the thing is, this happens so quickly. Euron just comes out of nowhere and he kills a dragon, and Euron's such a silly character at this point. But the problem is it just happens, you know, and then they take out the ships. And it was a fun sequencing Tyrion run on the boats. It was kind of like a Pirates of the Caribbean scene, and now he jumps in the water. Seeing Peter Dinklage's little body jump in the water was fucking hilarious. But then they take Missandei. It's like, okay. I don't really give that much of a shit about her. It wasn't that big of a deal. It would have been different if they had taken someone else, like, you know, maybe what if Varys was on the ship and they had Varys held hostage. I think that would have been interesting. So then they're like, then Varys is telling Tyrion, like, yeah, we're gonna have a mutiny and all that, and I'm gonna do what I need to for the realm. And it's not a bad conversation scene, but you're still kind of confused why everyone's just making these, like, really extreme decisions. It's like, I thought we had a plan here. Can we follow the plan? You know, it was cool in the end of season 6 when Varys showed up at Dorne and you found out he was involved with that. I was interested in that. I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's actually a really exciting moment. But there's really hasn't been anything good with Varys in a couple seasons now. It sucks because Varys was one of the best characters in the early seasons, as was Tyrion. But it is nice to see them planning the future again. This kind of goes back to season 2, so I did like seeing that, for sure. So then we get to the final sequence, and this feels too rushed. You know, it all, like I said, this episode, for like, nothing really happens for like 45 minutes, and then a bunch of stuff happens. Then Euron kills Dany's dragon. Missandei gets taken. Dany goes to talk to Cersei. Tyrion talks to Qyburn. A lot happens in just like 20 minutes. It's like, did we really need to waste all that time doing that party scene at Winterfell when we could have had episodes of this? And maybe these episodes should be 2 hours if you want to fit all this. It just felt rushed. And now that I'm thinking about, there's only 2 episodes left. That means that there's just going to be another battle episode, and then there's going to be the fucking finale. And it's like, Jesus Christ, this is moving way too fast. Like, it's all just happening. It's like, wow, the Night King's dead. Now we're here. I mean, it's nice having a sense of finality to the show. It does give it something that makes it exciting to think, like, oh, it is about to end. I will admit that part is exciting, that, like, we're finally at the end. It's going to have an ending. There will not be another season of this run of Game of Thrones. So I enjoy that. I enjoy that a lot, that feeling. You know, it did feel that way. Although it was less powerful because Dany talked to Cersei last year, and Jon Snow and them about the White Walkers. So it was kind of less impactful for Dany and Cersei to see each other in this episode. I gotta say, I wish they would have waited and this was the first time. But I like the beginning of this scene a lot, even though I don't know why Cersei doesn't try to kill Dany and Tyrion. They're just standing there and she has archers. I mean, I'm just sitting there like, yeah, why don't you just kill them right now? Cersei's crazy. I thought maybe she had nuance, but this episode just confirms that she's just been a cartoon character and a stupid villain for a while now. But that's what was exciting. It was like, oh, wow, Dany's really got some balls just standing here when all these people could kill her. Maybe they have a trick going on. Maybe they have men surrounded the cat, I thought something like that. Maybe something else was going on. They didn't seem to have a lot of leverage in that moment, I gotta say. But there's a nice scene. It's my favorite scene of the episode. It's between Qyburn and Tyrion, two of the best characters the show ever had. I like this conversation. I like him saying, "You're a rational man. Help me avoid this." And then Qyburn's like, "Oh, I don't like the sounds of dead children either." And how Tyrion really tries to convince him, like, dude, listen to me. Like, this isn't going to work out well. I need you to understand that. That was compelling. And the acting was really good. It was compelling to see the two of them talk, and Tyrion really trying to convince Qyburn and hoping that because he was smart. I like the thing where he says, you know her reign is over, that, can you convince her? I thought that was really good. I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. That wasn't a bad scene, especially for modern standards. It's just a lot of things in the episode felt rushed. Once again, the strategies were just so ridiculous. Tonal issues. Jaime's character development kind of getting thrown out the window. It felt like he was actually really changing, and now he's just going to run back to Cersei and probably kill her, and there's going to be a big thing like that in the finale where Jaime kills Cersei and shit blows up. That's my assumption, I don't know. I would like if they actually shocked us and killed Dany. I think killing Dany would be amazing at this point. Especially if, like, Cersei killed Dany. I think that would fuck with me, but I would like it. Then you would kill Cersei, I think, after that. I guess I just don't. Yeah, it just feels like too much happened at the end and then not enough happened before then. And then it really felt like we wasted a lot of time in episode 2 that we could have done we could have spent at King's Landing. Because it is something now that the show spends so much time in one location. I was thinking about that. One of the charms of the older seasons was those 5-minute scenes. And sometimes King's Landing would be extended. But those short scenes, you just have to write a bunch of short scenes and kind of interconnect the world. And I think that was played to D&D's strengths, that they didn't have to write long scenes. Now that we're spending so much time in, like, one location because everything's smaller now, all the characters are with each other, it is a flaw, I think. I don't think the show is better. I mean, Blackwater did that. And there's episodes like Hard Home where you spend, like, an extended sequence with Jon Snow and that works. But in this case, I do think cutting back and forth between King's Landing and the North would have benefited the show a lot more, and not spent as much time the first few episodes in Winterfell. I think it's just dragged. It's like, wow, we only have 2 episodes left, and I think about all the time they wasted with scenes in Winterfell. The scenes that weren't important, there's a lot of them. So I don't know. I like the scene with Tyrion. He goes up to Cersei, and then he tells like, save your baby, which she told Euron it's his baby, but we know it's not his baby. I don't know why she isn't showing. I don't know if she made the baby up or not. I hope she made the baby up. That would make me like her more. But there's a moment here I thought to myself, are D&D going to do something clever? There's no way. I thought, they're going to have there be no battle. There's not going to be the battle we've been waiting for. We got that battle in Winterfell. Cersei's actually going to agree with Tyrion here, and they're going to choose to not fight. This is going to be a moment. And I was like, you know what? Wow. This show's going to end with it not being about war or the Game of Thrones. They're all going to accept how silly it is and try to come together and be better people. And maybe the last 2 episodes will actually have a statement about war and life and humanity and what it means, and tell us that, all this killing is needless and that we need to live life after we beat death. We have to live as long as we can. And I thought, there's something beautiful about that. Maybe they'll surprise me here. And then Cersei just tells Missandei, say your last words, and the Mountain cuts her fucking head off. And they go for that shocking moment that D&D like to do. Their biggest problem is they don't know how to plot like George Martin. What they can do is sometimes write a fun dialogue exchange and then these big, reveal moments, these big set piece moments. Sometimes D&D are really good at that. The scene where the Night King raises his arms in Hardhome couldn't have been better executed, and I give them credit for that stuff. They're good at that. But at this point, the plot's just a mess, and the time when they do shocking deaths, like when they just killed everyone in Dornoff at the beginning of season, it just comes off horrible. It doesn't work. And the same thing here. Missandei's death just doesn't have the impact that I think they thought it would. I like the fake out. You think like Grey Worm's gonna die and then she dies, but still, another waste. And it could have been more cruel. Cersei could have tortured her. I hate to say it, she could have had the Mountain Dew stuff to her. I mean, I don't want that to happen to her, but if they're gonna do stuff like this, you have to do more fucked up stuff. Really, all things considered, this was pretty tame for Cersei. So we're just gonna get the big battle scene. We're just gonna get, Dany versus Cersei, the big fight scene at King's Landing, and the dragon and all that stuff, instead of something different. I thought they were really going to commit to something different and surprise me, but they just went with the ending. A lot of close-ups on faces. Cersei just smiling like a crazy bitch, and Dany walking off, and then it's like, all right, next episode, the big battle episode. So to just wrap up my thoughts on this, a better episode than the previous one. I still think the first episode's the best episode of this season. I'm really worried about the next two. D&D, their writing is just not good right now. And don't get me wrong, it hasn't been good for a while, but this is sloppy, really sloppy. And even though I liked some of the dialogue, I liked Varys and Tyrion talking, I liked the Qyburn and Tyrion stuff, I like that Sansa is trying to scheme against Dany, even if it doesn't make sense, it's interesting. I like all that. I think that all could really pay off. It would be cool if Sansa and Varys teamed up to kill Dany and Jon didn't know about it, and then Jon found out about it. Maybe that's where the finale wraps up, is all this sense of betrayal from all of the main castmates. I think that could be fascinating. As a way to end the show, is that the Starks are just, at odds with each other. Once again, they're not doing anything with Bran. I'm starting to worry that the time travel's not going to get introduced again. There was a bit of discussion about the Lord of Light in this episode between Davos and Tyrion, but it didn't. I wish that was explored more. It feels like they're just gonna ignore the mist, like they're just gonna say none of it's gonna get answers. And I know some people in my last video were like, well, that's what the prequels are for and all that. It's like, dude, fuck off. I don't want the midichlorians of Game of Thrones. This was just another mediocre episode. It's so disappointing in this last season. I was hoping they were getting back on track, and I hope this episode would at least bring it back. And even though it was an improvement, it's still just like, man, shit. These last 4 episodes really feel like they're gonna suck, and the show's really going out on like a down note. Like, it's not going out on a high. It's really just going out in a whimper, in disappointment, and this continued that. This did not bounce back the show in any way, and it just kind of made... After seeing The Long Night, it affects the episodes before it, and now it affects the episodes that come after it. The whole time you're watching this episode, you can't help but think about what they did in the previous one. And just how it screwed up where the story was going. The whole story, too, not just the story that's this season's story. So we only have 2 left. I thought I would review this to all the people who subscribed to the channel recently and put me over 11,000. Thank you so much for all the support on that video. I'm sorry if this was a little less comedic than that one. I don't have as much of a rant here. I'm not as angry. Overall, it was a fun episode, but it did feel more like a soap opera, like the first episode did. And I don't mind Game of Thrones being a soap opera, but it's just a full-on soap opera now. And it's sort of ridiculous, and I thought I would enjoy it a little bit more. It was a dry episode with highlights, and I'm hoping that the next 2 episodes have a more consistent energy and a pacing to them. And hopefully they actually do. They have to kill off some major characters in the next episode. They just have to. They're playing it way too safe. Shit has to go down for me to enjoy the last couple episodes. I cannot deal with this anticlimax that keeps happening with the show. Like, quit cock teasing me. You only have a few episodes left. Get shit done. But that's it. That's it. The last of the Starks. And how honestly, even though John's stupid, I will say one thing. It was nice with Tormund and John being drunk and their last scene together, when they hugged and he left and all that. The guy who plays Tormund's great. It did take me back to the stuff I liked about the northern stuff, the walls, the Castle Black and all that stuff in the early seasons. And, you know, hopefully there's some more moments like that. There's some more closure between characters like that. Because it does feel nice if you watch the show this long to see people actually continue those friendships. The scene with Sam and Gilly and John was really nice. I like Kit Harington in this episode. I think he gives a really, you know, natural, charming performance. I think John feels really human here. And I like that. So D&D did a better job. David Nutter actually did pretty good work on this episode. I think David Nutter did a really good job directing this. And I'm not the biggest David Nutter fan. But yeah, you know, okay episode, but still very mediocre and still highly just flawed and sloppy and too immediate in some things that especially the death of the dragon, I feel like happened way too quickly. It was too sudden in the episode itself and just in the context of where the story was going. But let me know what you think in the comments section.